Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So we all saw the video of SHEKINAH defending Tiny and making fun of Sabrina when this whole issue first broke. And Tiny's voice was heard in the background, so a lot of people on social media realized that Tiny was actually there when SHEKINAH made her video. Well, now that things are going south, Tiny is saying that she has nothing to do with that video and she did not tell SHEKINAH what to say. Now, here's what I think is the reason why Tiny and SHEKINAH has really fallen out and why Tiny has decided to end her friendship with SHEKINAH. And yes, I think T.I. has a lot to do with it. So at first when the news broke, I'm not gonna say what the actual issue is, with T.I. and all the drama, because we all know what it is. And we all know what Sabrina said and all these other people coming out. But anyway, so when SHEKINAH addressed the issue, as usual, she was defending Tiny and T.I. She was defending them very strongly. That's just what SHEKINAH does. She's very vocal about things, whether she should be or shouldn't be. She's very vocal about a lot of things, and a lot of the times she doesn't really put too much thought into what she's about to say and into the consequence of her words before she says things. She just sort of speaks. So she did that and she defended Tiny, and based on the giggling and everything else in the background, with which we know that Tiny was there at the time, it was all fun and games, right? Because nobody knew how seriously and how big the matter was going to get. So at the time, I believe that Tiny was okay with SHEKINAH defending her. But after SHEKINAH defended Tiny and people came out and started to talk about how SHEKINAH is revealing more about Tiny's marriage than she should, I think that was the point when T.I. and Tiny realized that perhaps SHEKINAH should not be so close to them after all, because she tends to say things without really thinking, and she's revealing more than they would want people to know. T.I. and Tiny have never spoken about how they live their life, in public. It's usually other people that bring it out to the public. But so they're very guarded about that. But then SHEKINAH, when she tried to defend Tiny, she revealed a lot. And I think Tiny herself wouldn't mind if people didn't react so strongly as they did towards SHEKINAH's video. So after people started to criticize SHEKINAH for revealing so much, that is when Tiny then decided, well, this is all a bad idea and SHEKINAH needs to keep her mouth shut. And when people that have been friends for a long time and have issues with each other but never addressed it, when they get into a fight, what happens is that all of these previous issues begin to creep up and they begin to address it while they're fighting with a friend, and it usually ends badly. It usually centers around loyalty or one person thinking the other friend is disloyal. We saw this with Meg and her best friend, Nicole. We saw this with Meg and Asian doll. And then, now we're seeing this whole loyalty or disloyalty issue play out with Tiny and SHEKINAH, and it's always around the same thing. One person thinks the other person is not a real friend or they're being disloyal. In the case of SHEKINAH and Tiny, I honestly think this friendship is done, because the things that they're saying about each other and hurling insults, honestly, it's Tiny that's hurling insults at SHEKINAH. I have noticed that SHEKINAH does not really, she's not an aggressor. She also does not try to pick fights with people. The only thing that causes her to have drama is just that people don't like the way she addresses issues. And when she addresses issues, she ends up making it worse than it previously is. And she doesn't mean to, but Shekinah is not the one hurling insults. Tiny is hurling insults at Shekinah, and it's very disappointing because if you look at Shekinah, despite what we all say about her, saying that she needs to get off social media or she needs to stop talking about things, if you really look at her and the way that she speaks and the things that she says, and just from the little things that we've gathered from her life, she pretty much just minds her business and works and hangs out with her friends and advertises her brand, and that's pretty much it. She's not here insulting people and just being mean. And honestly, with this fallout between Shekinah and Tiny is coming across as a very, very unpleasant person, because like calling Shekinah ditzy B, I mean, it's like, come on, you guys have been friends for a long time. Even if they're going to fight, they should kind of fight in a way where they're not outrightly disrespecting each other. And this sudden anger from Tiny is the reason why I think T.I. has something to do with it. Not just T.I., but people around Tiny. Because when Tiny was there, when Shekinah made the video, they were all giggling. So she had no problem with it. But now the lawsuits are coming and everyone reacted very strongly to what Shekinah said. And Shekinah had to come back and clear her own name. Suddenly, it seems as though after a little bit of time went by, Tiny suddenly got really upset about the video, even though she was right there when it was being made. So it's like, where did this anger come from? It clearly isn't from just what Shekinah said. I think it's the consequence of what Shekinah said is what's really upsetting Tiny. And definitely her husband must have told her, listen, this girl is going to put us in hot water, and you need to keep your distance from her. Especially since Shekinah came out and said that T.I. never really liked her and he would make fun of her or something, that T.I. never really liked her in the video that she addressed Tiny in. So if T.I. never really liked her and they were never really friends, then obviously T.I. is not going to want Shekinah to expose what goes on in his marriage. So it makes sense. It's really unfortunate though that their friendship has ended. Honestly, I think this is best for Shekinah because she clearly has a lot of issues with Tiny. She did mention how Tiny stole all of her friends and now they're all friends with Tiny. And these were people that she introduced to Tiny herself, and she talked about how Tiny didn't really help her get a raise. She didn't put in a good word for her, and Tiny isn't doing this and didn't do that for her, and she was trying to clarify a lot of things. So she has had a few gripes with Tiny for a long time. She just never addressed it. But it's all coming out now, and it is very sad. This fight of theirs should not be on social media. It doesn't really seem as if T.I. and Tiny are in a position of power when it comes to these lawsuits, because the way they're acting very disorganized, and like they're turning on each other and turning on friends that were there and know stuff about their life. As much as I think that this friendship between Tiny and Shekinah clearly needs to end because they have a lot of issues with each other, I don't know if it's a good idea for Tiny to call Shekinah names and be so disrespectful towards Shekinah, because Shekinah knows a lot about T.I. and Tiny's life. And if she were to be asked to testify in court, what do they think she's going to do? She's not going to stand by them now that they're falling out. So they have to be smart about how they go about things and pick your fights carefully. It's not everybody that you can come out swinging at, especially if you have a lot of skeletons and they know where your skeletons are buried. Anyway, that's all I have on this. She'll eventually learn to just stop defending people so strongly, because not everybody is going to do the same for her. She does come across as a very loyal friend though, but not everybody have the same definition of loyalty, especially people in the music, in show business. They have a different way of defining friendship, it seems. But yeah, that's all I have on this. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.